Behind a family-friendly facade, the Nuka-Cola Corporation was a cutthroat entity that had perfected corporate espionage, attempted multiple hostile takeovers, and even entered into secret weapons research with the United States military. Because of its underhanded tactics, internal corruption, and secretive agreements, Nuka-Cola employed security officers, or Nuka-Agents, to move around the country investigating cases. And in 2104 we can actually meet a former agent, Leo Petrov, in Appalachia. A Season 11 scoreboard award, he's a fascinating character.
Yes, my career was much more, colourful.
Passionate about all things Nuka-Cola, he's a handy companion to have at your camp, offering some great temporary buffs, but there's actually secret dialogue options we can unlock to find out why he's really here. In today's video, I'll be helping Leo solve 3 cold cases related to some in-game side quests, as well as investigating potential links to another Nuka-Cola addicted Fallout character, before finally revealing to him what the company he worked for was really like.
I accepted that, but this is inhumane.
Let's get started. Available at rank 35, setting down Leo's heavily decorated desk, we can see him walking towards us. And as it turns out, he already knows who we are.
Hello there. Your reputation precedes you, Vault Dweller. But I forget my manners. My name is Leo Petrov. It's a pleasure.
Leo makes a good first impression. But after the flattery, Leo has a request.
I must ask, despite knowing it is strange to do so on a first meeting, but do you happen to have a Nuka-Cola Classic? I have run out.
Giving him a Nuka-Cola, he makes us an offer. But with a perception speech check, we can actually press him for more details.
Ah, you are a sharp one, as I expected. Yes, my career was much more, colorful. Perhaps I'll tell you about it another time, over a bottle of Nuka. Here's my proposition. For the small price of Nuka-Cola beverages, I will offer you extra security here. But of even more value, I can offer you words of Nuka inspiration specific to the variety you share. Think of it as a sort of motivational pep talk. I am confident it will make your day-to-day survival a bit easier.
Seems like a fair trade, and keeping Leo around, he can actually handle himself pretty well. Giving him different flavors of Nuka-Cola will also result in some pretty handy buffs as he graces us with some amusing pep talks.
Oh, I'm sure it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Unwind with Nuka-Cola Dark. Have a glass and let the fun sneak up on you. Cheers to you, friend.
Of most interest, however, Leo is a fascinating character. In the initial interaction, he's a bit cagey about what exactly he was investigating. If you choose to ask him some questions about himself, he will leave you with this.
I was here to investigate a large amount of funds that went missing through the Kanawa plant here in Appalachia. Embezzlement was highly suspected. The trail went cold, buried in the rubble of the old world.
So to find out more, we actually need to complete a total of 6 different things to unlock some new speech options. On the initial dialogue screen, if you've already completed these, then you'll see an option to explain that you've discovered something related to Nuka-Cola. 2 of these are actually pretty easy to complete. If you've been to Nuka-World on tour, then you can ask him about that. And it turns out he's already been there.
Oh yes, I visited it before coming here. It was a splendid time, despite it not being an official event, that is.
And progressing through the main story, you can also relay how you managed to cure the Scorched Plague with your blood, which initially he does find disgusting.
Ugh, disgusting! I feel like I know you well enough to judge that you're not a complete psychopath.
Another one is completing the side quest Wasted on Nukashine. Again, something most players have probably done already, this questline centered around investigating the potentially lethal spirit Nukashine, which had devastating effects on a crazy house party in Fraternity Row. Originally created by Lewis, a Vault-Tec student, to help feed his Nuka-Cola addiction, it catapulted his fraternity to university-wide fame, leading to the chapter president setting up a speakeasy in the basement of Big Al's tattoo parlor. It's here where the drunk robobrain Biv E. Ridge can actually be found rocketing around the cellar. Completing his questline will give you the option to discuss this with Leo. While he's strongly against an unlicensed Nuka-Cola product,
back in the day I would have shut the whole operation down.
He does admire Lewis's ingenuity.
Never underestimate students. I'm sure this Lewis would have been a brilliant chemist at Nuka-Cola had things turned out differently.
Although he admits that he might have brought Lewis to justice, this isn't the cold case he was working on. In fact, it is actually the final 3 dialogue options that will reveal this. All three of these can actually be completed together, as they relate to the optional side quests of unlocking TNT Domes 3 and 7 at the Black Mountain Ordnance Works. But getting the keys for both of these domes will take some time to acquire. Starting with opening up Dome 7, we need to find 2 paired keys. The first can be found atop Tanagra Town under a trifold flag found here. The second is located in a bathroom stall at the Nuka-World Nuka-Cola plant. With both keys discovered, we need to find a Nuka-Cola marketing access code, which is found underneath the crash plane in the mire. And you can actually find it in this white suitcase found here. Once you have the code, head over to Ingram Mansion, and at this side building use the terminal to generate a password. Jot this down or try and memorize it, as this code will be used in the final location. Heading inside Overlook Cabin, head to this part of the building. Use the paired keys and then this card reader and punch in the password. This actually unlocks a side room with the TNT Dome 7 key available to loot. Now we are ready to open the first dome, but it's worth checking out this terminal found nearby. It mentions that Dome 3 was owned by the Nuka-Cola Corporation, but Dome 7 was actually owned by an undisclosed party. It's worth noting as well that they were granted early access and anonymity due to a large cash down payment. But heading to Dome 7, you'll discover an assortment of Nuka-Cola items, but most importantly, plans for Nuka-Cola Quantum Exo-1 power armor. Now the inclusion of this particular set in Fallout 76 was always quite interesting. For anyone who's played Fallout 4, the same paint is found exclusively at Nuka-World. The Quantum Exo-1 power armor can only be found in a display case on the first floor of Starport Nuka in the Galactic Zone, in front of the large mainframe computer that controls many of the park's functions. You can unlock this display case by actually collecting 35 star cores during the quest Star Control. It is one of only a few level-independent Exo-1 suits that can actually be obtained in Fallout 4, and further investigation revealed it was given to Nuka-Cola because of their involvement with the military research Project Cobalt. So taking our findings back to Leo, he has this to say.
Really? A part of my investigation was to track down those plans. They were exclusive and meant to be used for upcoming Nuka-Cola events. Just how did you gain access to this locker?
So it turns out this was part of his case. But continuing on, he confirms what he read on the terminal.
I suspect an employee embezzled funds to purchase this locker and then used it to hide valuable and confidential items. I believe this information wraps up that particular mystery.
Leo reckons we've got him closure, but actually we aren't done yet, because there's still one more dome to open up. You'll need to start by finding the toolbox key. This can be found next to Pylon V13, next to the body of Rich Taylor. Loot the duffel bag to collect the key, but also give this note a read. Rich mentions that he was attacked by a research assistant from work, who he managed to kill before passing himself. We will learn more about this research assistant momentarily, and this storyline is important for unlocking the third bit of dialogue. Continuing on, the toolbox key opens up a toolbox found close to the Watoga shopping plaza. Following this route and opening it, we find the key to Clara's box. We don't know who Clara is yet, but she's very important for this investigation. Our next stop is Sutton, and at the back here in the doghouse we find 2 things. The first is in Clara's box, another key, and the box it opens can actually be found in the Nuka-World Nuka-Cola plant. But the letter, make sure to read and pick this up. Reading it, we discover that Clara worked for Nuka-Cola in the research team, and she swore to get revenge on someone in marketing. It transpires then that the research assistant who attacked Rich was Clara. But why did she attack him? Clara's mother became addicted to Nuka-Cola drinks made at the plant. So, back to Kangaroo it is, to open up the box and see if we can discover more about what took place there. Heading inside, you want to take a right and head up into this research area. The side door leads us through to another room before we arrive at a series of testing booths. The final booth has a locker in front of it. Opening it up reveals the TNT Dome key. We aren't done yet though, and we are exactly where we need to be to get to the bottom of this. By 3 of these booths you can actually find these feedback forms. The first one, which is found near this locker, is for a sample of Nuka-Cola Black, a coffee-based variant of Nuka-Cola. We can read the tester's response to it at the bottom, and yeah, it doesn't sound good. The product sample names can be confirmed on a terminal in the main research room. Before checking that, let's read the other 2. The second was a big success with the tester, but the sample code doesn't match any of the ones listed on the terminal, The final one reveals that Lewis, creator of Nukashine, was actually here as a tester. He wasn't a fan of what seems to have been a rehashed recipe of the Nuka-Cola classic. But before we explore more, let's have a read of the terminal. Looking at each product code, we begin to get an idea of the awful ingredients the marketing team was insisting on using in the drinks. Checking this level 3 safe, we can actually find another note from Clara, this time to Alexis, a co-worker. Arsenic, mercury, strontium-90, and other toxic chemicals were used to enhance their addictiveness, confirming that she did steal all of the supplies before heading home to Sutton, and we know where her story ended. The discovery confirms that Nuka-Cola were more than happy to fill the drinks with the very worst chemicals to enhance addictiveness, and we can confront Leo about this. Before we speak to him, let's head to TNT Dome 3 to check that out. Opening it up, we find the T51 Nuka-Cola paint, some random spawns for unique clothing, and a collection of discarded statues, vending machines, and rockets. Our investigation is over, so it's time to confront Nuka-Cola's biggest fan. First, letting Leo know what we found in TNT Dome 3, he has little to say.
Fascinating. I had heard the company had a storage facility in the area. What a find! Perhaps I'll visit it sometime.
Before we break the news about the chemicals, you can ask Leo whether he thinks he's an addict.
No, I'm not addicted. I'm no more an addict than the people who enjoyed a cup of coffee in the morning. It's just how I prefer to get my caffeine.
Firmly believing he isn't, let's present the evidence to him.
Are you positive? This appears to be official, but I assure you I had no idea. I wonder if this was entirely local to the Kanawa plant. Preposterous. These experiments happened just before the bombs fell, did they not? I don't believe those chemicals ever hit the mass market. This whole time I was thinking of nothing more than how flavorful our products were. I never seriously considered it, but am I truly an addict?
If you follow the other speech option, you do get some different dialogue.
I love the company with all my heart, but I know it's had its fair share of corruption. I accepted that, but this is inhumane.
It's a far cry from the overwhelmingly positive things Leo had to say about the company earlier on, but it definitely seems like he was none the wiser. To summarise what we've learnt, Leo came to Appalachia to investigate rumours of internal corruption and to locate missing promotional materials. As it transpired, not only did we discover that these rumours were true, but also that this branch at least was responsible for plying drinks with addictive chemicals. Moving on to the second part of the video now. Leo is a pretty open book about a lot of things, but one speech option, when you ask him about his family, he likely won't give you an answer and shuts you down.
No offense, but I believe it's best to keep personal matters separated from business.
This one took me a while to figure out. Thanks to Lux from the Data Mining Discord for confirming this was correct, but if you give Leo a Nuka-Cola for 7 days, and it can be any variety, then this speech option will have new responses. So, after his 7th drink, he finally opens up.
A handsome devil like me? Of course I was. The last time I spoke with my wife, she told me our marriage was over. What good is a husband who was never home, she said. She told me she was taking our son and leaving for her mother's, and accused me of being married to my job. I don't think she was wrong. My company benefits provided me and my family with space in a vault, but that was quite some time before we had parted ways. I was far from home when the bombs fell.
It transpires that Leo had a house in Washington, D.C., but because of his move around the country, the relationship with his wife broke down. Of particular interest though, his family did have a space in a vault in the DC area, so it is possible that they were able to survive the bombs. Which leads us nicely to that character from Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, Sierra Petrovita. The parallels between these two characters are quite significant. Plying Leo with colas we find is pretty similar to collecting quantums for Sierra in Fallout 3.
Nuka-Cola Quantum was made under the supervision of the Food and Drug Association. They would never let harmful products end up in stores.
But the most obvious link is simply their intense love of Nuka-Cola. And Petrov and Petrovita do seem to be quite similar for this just to be a coincidence. Combined with the possibility that his family survived in a vault, then maybe these two are in fact related. Whatever the case, it's a neat little tie-in and a nice Easter egg. But with that, we've reached the end of the video. Do you think Sierra is a descendant of Leo? And what do you think of the new ally's backstory? I quite enjoyed researching his backstory. and the additional lore around the Nuka Quantum power armor was a nice addition in my opinion. Looking ahead, we have a couple more videos releasing soon, so look out for an unreleased datamine showcase, and our second world objects which should be camp objects video. Subscribing and turning on the bell icon is definitely the best way to stay up to date. If you enjoyed this particular video, then why not drop a like on it as well. With that said, I'm off. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.